If there's one team apart from Red Bull that was in the negative spotlight at the Brazilian Grand Prix, this has to be Alpine. Although they managed to stay calm, gather valuable points, and likely secure the P4 spot in the Constructors' Championship by finishing P5 and P8 with Alonso and Ocon, the weekend was a turbulent one for them. There have been some close conflicts between Ocon and Alonso, and although the culmination was at the sprint race, the main race event also saw a bit of tough spot for both Alpine drivers. Therefore, Ocon hasn't held his words and is truly furious with how his teams treated him in this situation. Alpine's weekend was a troublesome one, especially during the sprint race, where both the cars collided and Ocon dropped down the grid, while Alonso was given a 5-second penalty and he had to be satisfied with P18 on the grid. Ocon was just next to him, and it was a difficult challenge underlying both drivers, who for some reason just don't seem to like each other. But prior to the sprint race here in Brazil, both Alpine drivers have a history of conflicts and coming close to each other in the 2022 season. Let's remember Hungary, where they both collided at the beginning of the race and in the middle of it, when Ocon was exiting the pits and joined right ahead of Alonso. This was perfectly utilised by Ricciardo, who managed to pass both of them in one corner. Although they retrieved the positions, it wasn't a pleasant sight to watch. Jeddah was also a race where Ocon wasn't willing to let Alonso ahead, and both almost crashed into each other, into what would have been Red Bull's 2018 Baku situation all over again. Rest assured that Alonso doesn't really like Ocon as his teammate, and he hasn't been shy to tell us that throughout the season, with the latest jab being taken at the Brazilian Grand Prix. When Alonso wasn't able to complete a pass on Ocon, the stewards decided that it was Alonso's fault for not moving to the right side of the track enough and gave him a 5-second penalty. He said on the radio, "I lost a piece of my front wing thanks to our old friend." Nevertheless, both Alpine drivers managed to post decent results and finish the race strong. And the fact that both McLaren drivers retired from Brazil just went on to show that their results have been optimised to the fullest. But it goes without saying that there will be trouble in the future, both for Alonso and Ocon, although both of them are headed into the last race as teammates. Before we go into Ocon's statement on Alpine and the situation that transpired during the race, we want to talk about Established Titles, an incredible company that is preserving the natural woodlands of Scotland and helping with global reforestation. This amazing last-minute gift makes you the owner of 1 square foot of land in Edelston, Scotland. And Established Titles plants a tree with the global charities One Tree Planted and Trees for the Future. That's great, but this gift offers even more. There's an old Scottish tradition of calling landowners lairds, which is lord or lady to those of you who don't live in the 15th century Scotland. By gifting someone land in Scotland, you give them the right to call themselves a lord or lady, and they get a certificate to prove it. You can add lord or lady to your credit card, plane tickets, or even your FIA super license. You do have one, don't you? The first 200 people who purchase a title pack using our link will get their plot pretty much directly next to mine. This isn't just an amazing last-minute gift, we could also start our own little Scottish kingdom. Established Titles is actually running a massive Black Friday sale right now, plus if you use the code F1Reverse, you get an additional 10% off. Go to establishedtitles.com/F1Reverse to get your gifts now and help support the channel. If you bought an Established Titles product with our code, let us know in the comments below so we can shout you out by your proper title. Back to Alpine and the drama revolving around the drivers. For the first time ever, Schaffnauer decided that enough is enough and that both drivers should know better than this. That is why he bashed them publicly, saying, frankly, both Esteban and Fernando must do a better job to complement the fantastic efforts of everyone in the team by avoiding on-track incidents and compromising the entire team's performance. Today, both drivers have let the team down. I expect more from them tomorrow, where we must do everything we can to recover some points from the weekend for the championship. We aim to ensure we go to Abu Dhabi next weekend in a position where we can reach our season goals. Tomorrow is a new day. As we mentioned earlier, the race result was truly good for Alpine, who managed to pick up 14 points from this weekend and extend their lead to McLaren to 19 points. But during the race, when the second safety car got called inside and the restart was bound to happen, there was a tense situation between Ocon and Alonso yet again. Both Alpine drivers were P8 and P9, with Alonso trailing Ocon, and the two-time world champion was on much fresher, soft compound tyres. Ocon was given the order to not fight against Alonso and not make stupid moves, given the fact that they are now in an optimal position to not fight on track and to amplify the points from this weekend even further. Fernando has the tyre advantage on us. Let's not focus on him. Let's make sure we concentrate on beating Vettel eventually. Let's make sure we let him through nice and clean, please. If you can confirm that, please, as well, is what Ocon's engineer told him on the radio. However, Ocon said that he has his eyes set on Vettel and said that he'll fight him. "Let me race. At the moment I will, once the situation is settled a bit more. We can lose everything now, also at the restart," replied Ocon. To this, the engineer had a bit of a fiercer response as the tension in the air was more than present, as he asked Ocon, "Esteban, I don't want you fighting with Fernando, is that understood?" Ocon said, "I need to pass Vettel now, I won't fight Fernando." And the engineer's final words to the radio were, "That's fine, you can pass Vettel, I don't want you fighting Fernando, as long as that's clear." It was a pretty intense discussion, and Ocon was able to pass Vettel right at the restart. This was also done by Alonso, and when both Alpine drivers were past the Aston Martin driver, Ocon let Alonso go safely ahead, as Alonso went on to pass Bottas and finish P5. Ocon was asked about the radio transcript later, after the race, and it wasn't really pleasant for him to talk about, adding, "I think it's not very well translated because people thought I didn't want to let Fernando pass. I said, no, I don't let him pass at the restart, I'm going to pass Seb. And then once the situation is settled, we'll figure that out. I'm not going to fight, I'm going to let him go, and that's what I did. I couldn't have held them, he was very fast on the soft tyre, and obviously there were points for the whole team to grab. So I knew I was in a situation and the team didn't need to tell me what to do." It's evident that Ocon was very furious with how he was treated from Alpine's side, but one couldn't blame the team because these two are always managing to get themselves into trouble. Ocon also spoke about moving to the last race, saying that today is today, last night was last night, and saying that he hasn't spoken to Alonso about the incident. However, Ocon also added that there was now some tension with Alonso, despite him previously denying it and saying that both of them were good friends. We remember that Alonso defended fiercely in Hungary last year, when his teammate Ocon was on track to win his maiden race. And keep in mind, he defended against the machinery of Mercedes and Hamilton. And although the two-time world champion was eventually passed, it goes without saying that his defense is what brought Ocon his maiden win. Esteban was also furious towards Alonso and his statement made in the media about the clash in the sprint race, saying, "No, I mean, it was not too nice what he said in the media. I always have a lot of respect for him. He's a legend and I will keep respecting him forever. And yeah, doesn't matter what he said to you guys, I prefer when we speak together." What's evident is that both drivers are going to have to change some of the narrative going into the 2023 season, due to the fact that they'll have new teammates. Ocon's teammate Gasly will be much more competitive and eager to prove that he can perform in machinery that suits his driving style, while Alonso's teammate is practically the owner of the team, so he cannot say whatever he likes on the radio. On top of that, we do remember what happened in Kota between Alonso and Stroll, and we do remember what happened between Stroll and Vettel at the second DRS zone in the sprint race, where Stroll was handed a 10-second penalty. Therefore, it's safe to say that Alonso will find himself in a difficult situation when attacking Stroll, due to the fact that the Canadian just doesn't like to give up places, even if it is his teammate in question. At the end of the day, the team is happy and is looking forward to keeping the 19-point lead in Abu Dhabi, and we can say that the 2022 season turned out to be a truly challenging one for the Alpine. They struggled a lot with reliability, but in the races where they didn't, they had solid results and were able to beat McLaren for the P4 spot. This wasn't practically possible in the past, and this is why the team doesn't want to relax in the last race in Abu Dhabi and make a mistake like they did in Singapore, where McLaren was able to obtain 22 points and Alpine had both of its cars retire. What do you think about Ocon's statement on Alpine? Let us know in the comments below.